of autopilot. We will discuss. Plus, Pittsburgh's self-driving dreams. We will hear from the mayor about the city's pilot with Uber and how Pittsburgh plans to remake itself as the manufacturing hub of the future. And today, the front page of the internet is answering your questions. We're talking to the co-founders of Reddit, covering everything from ad-blocking technology to free speech on the web. But first, to our lead. Elon Musk is vamping up Tesla's Model S and Model X, telling investors on Tuesday to expect new versions with more powerful batteries that can now cover up to 315 miles on a single charge. Musk also appealing to sports car enthusiasts, announcing that the improved Model S will be able to accelerate to 60 miles an hour from zero in just 2.5 seconds. Here to break down the significance of these new features, Bloomberg's David Welch from our auto team in Detroit. David, so how significant is this announcement?
In terms of real technological advancement, what Elon talked about today is kind of marginal, kind of incremental. But there is some significant marketing news for him. First of all, he can say he's got the first car that can go over 300 miles on a single charge. And he can also brag that the Model S is now going to be the fastest car in the world that you can buy at retail. So it's going to beat the Ferraris, it's going to beat the Porsches that are already out there, and it's an electric car. So from Elon's point of view, hey, this is really good news that he can boast about when he's trying to sell these cars and prove to the world that this technology can go toe-to-toe or, in fact, beat everything that's out there on the road that's powered by gasoline.
Let's talk about autopilot more specifically. Lots of questions given the investigation that's going on into a fatal crash. Also, Google/Alphabet coming out saying they're focused on fully self-driving cars, not semi-autonomous cars like Tesla is working on. What did he have to say about autopilot?
Well, he didn't have a lot of news there. Again, his biggest news was really that he's getting better battery power out of the Model S and the Model X. They continue to work on autopilot, and they're going to continue to beta test it and try to get this thing so it's ready for people to use down the line without having their hands on the wheel. But at the moment, people have to keep their hands on the wheel with autopilot, and it's not a fully autonomous system. Nobody has one that's on the road for use by consumers yet.
Some interesting news coming out of two other companies, Delphi and Mobileye, two leading auto parts suppliers that say they're teaming up to create an entire self-driving system. What does this really mean, and how would it work?
This actually could be pretty significant because Delphi and Mobileye, Delphi being the big Detroit-based electronics maker, mostly automotive electronics, and Mobileye being the Israeli company that makes the sensors and cameras and mapping capabilities that are required for self-driving cars. They're getting together, and it's going to be sort of a lower tech system. Instead of relying on the high-tech LiDAR, it's going to be more of a camera-based system, which is a little bit cheaper, and they may be able to get self-driving cars to market faster than a lot of the big car companies are talking about right now. The other significance is if it's a less expensive system, smaller companies like Subaru, like Mazda, those that don't have the big bucks to put into really big self-driving programs like, say, General Motors or like Google has, they could actually get a crack at this technology. It's almost, if you will, like an open source version of self-driving cars. And
would this be like a sort of one-stop shop for self-driving cars?
Yeah, it really could be, because these companies are suppliers. They'll do business with anybody who wants to use their equipment and wants to get it on the road pretty quickly.
All right, Bloomberg's David Welch joining us from Detroit. Thanks so much, David, for that update, something that we'll continue to follow. Now, last week, we found out that Pittsburgh is Uber's city of choice to host the first self-driving fleet to serve customers anywhere in the U.S. Uber users will ride specially modified Volvo SUVs fitted with dozens of tracking sensors, and the cars will be supervised by humans in the driver's seat for the time being. Earlier today, I sat down with the city's mayor, Bill Peduto, and began by asking when he first started speaking with Uber. Take a listen.
The initial conversations happened almost 18 months ago. Travis Kalanick and his team had been looking for a city to basically create an innovation center for autonomous vehicles, and they started talking with Carnegie Mellon University and the city. Over the course of the past 6 months, we've been advancing the driverless cars in limited areas of the city, and over the course really of the past few weeks, did it take that next level, which is the ability to actually call it up on your app and be able to use autonomous vehicles as part of your Uber experience.
So why do you want want Pittsburgh to be the guinea pig for this. Certainly it's exciting technology, but it's also unproven.
Well, it is and it isn't. So it's been over a decade that Carnegie Mellon University has been using driverless cars in the city of Pittsburgh. And these past 6 months, Uber's been all over the city with it. I actually got to be the first person to use the vehicle itself, ending a night having Travis and his team come and pick me up and taking me home. There's no difference in a car, and at the same time, safety's coming first. So it will already have a driver in the driver's seat. There will be a second person in the other seat. And the technology has been there for some time. It's just now the time to take it to the streets.
How do residents in Pittsburgh feel about this? Have you talked to them? Have you polled them?
I haven't pulled them. I mean, this is really an issue that we've been working with, not only with Uber, but with the U.S. Department of Transportation, Secretary Fox and his team. One of the big issues that we've also worked on is cybersecurity, and Uber's utilizing a lot of the cybersecurity expertise that Pittsburgh provides. The Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, again, mandating and putting requirements on that look at safety first. But whether it's inoculations, whether it was aviation, or now with mobility and autonomous vehicles, you know, there's always a test period, and a test period has both the positives and the negatives that come with it.
So give us some legal clarity on exactly how this will work. How does the city see Uber's cars today?
Well, presently there are autonomous vehicles on our streets, not only through Uber, but through Carnegie Mellon University. What's interesting to understand as well about this, every car that's being produced right now, every car that's coming out of Detroit and around the world is being equipped with sensors. Those cars will have the ability to speak to each other. Presently, they could already do it. In the future, in the next few years, the vehicles will also be talking to the traffic signals. There will be sensors that cities will put up, and the whole idea of mobility will shift. This is just the first step of what will be the next 10 years, a radical change in the way that we view urban transportation.
You mentioned there will be 2 drivers in the car, a main driver and a safety driver. At some point, will it be legal to drive without that safety driver? Do you see this as a job killer or a job creator?
Well, in Pittsburgh, Uber has now employed over 500 people from around the world to work on this project. I anticipate over the next few years, over 1,000 people will be employed. As you see the transition from a heavy industry city 30 years ago that went through economic collapse, you're seeing a new city emerge where Uber, Google, Microsoft, Intel, Disney, Oculus, Apple, Tata, Bosch, all these companies are creating a global innovation center in Pittsburgh. The cities that get out in the front will be leaders in the industry. They'll be the cities where other companies will locate. They'll be the cities where the talent will locate. What I want to see happen in Pittsburgh is that we not only build the technology, but we start manufacturing the parts as well. Advanced manufacturing being another part of this will be a critical component in building an industry for all.
That was Pittsburgh Mayor Bill Peduto. And as the battle for the world's ride-hailing customers heats up, here's one statistic to consider. Uber is now the most used taxi app in 108 countries. SimilarWeb analyzed the usage of ride-hailing apps on Android in 171 countries and found that Uber has quite a lead. The app's installed on 21% of all Android devices in the U.S., compared to under 3% for Lyft. Still, Uber has struggled in Asia, where local operators reign supreme. Coming up, we'll hear from the CEO of a startup that went from burning over $2 million a month to operating in the black. Plus, what questions do you have for Reddit co-founders Alexis Ohanian and Steve Huffman? Post on the subreddits r/startups and r/entrepreneur, and we will answer your questions live right here on Bloomberg West. This is Bloomberg. A stock we are watching, shares of Intuit falling over 4% in extended trading after the company released earnings that beat estimates but featured a downbeat outlook. The maker of the TurboTax software forecast a first quarter EPS of 1 to 3 cents, a huge miss from estimates for 13 cents. Now to another stock we are watching. Checkout shares of Best Buy surging as much as 19% in Tuesday trade for its biggest intraday gain in a year. The company posted better than expected profit for the second quarter, signaling to investors that CEO Hubert Joly's turnaround plan might be paying off. Best Buy has been hit hard by the rise of online shopping and weakening demand for electronics, but the retailer has been working to cut costs since 2012. Best Buy saw a 24% increase in online sales in the same time period as Amazon's Prime Day sales event. Also notable in this report, Best Buy cited a boost in wearable sales, which helped lift shares of Fitbit and GoPro as well. Not long ago, joining the Unicorn Club was the most sought-after bragging right in Silicon Valley. But in the midst of a funding downturn where it's harder to earn a billion-dollar valuation, startups are eager to simply proclaim their profitability. Hotel Tonight can now claim that title. The last-minute hotel booking startup is one of a few that went from burning millions to now planning an IPO. Joining me now here to discuss in studio, Hotel Tonight CEO Sam Shag. Sam.
Hello, how are you?
So, you've gone from burning millions to operating in the black. Tell me about the journey. How did you do it?
Well, what we did is we decided to just focus on getting to profitability. We wanted to own our own destiny. We were in this fundraising climate that was changing really fast and really dramatically. From fundraising, it was easy and we were able to raise a lot of money. We had great product market fit, and then we saw that pull back. And so we said, all right, we're going to own our own destiny. We're going to get to profitability, and we're going to make that the sole focus of the company. So I think that was the number one thing we did, is we said that is the number one focus, EBITDA and nothing else. And then from that came a ton of tactics, which we could spend hours and hours talking about.
Yeah, well, give me them in a nutshell.
Well, it wasn't just one thing, but I'll highlight a few things. So one was we reduced reliance on couponing and discounting. So Hotel Tonight, we're a last-minute booking app. Hotels give us rooms that would otherwise go unsold. They give a discount. It's really great values for customers, the best prices out there, absolutely. And we also would then supplement that to attract people to try Hotel Tonight with a coupon. And we realized that that wasn't necessary. The product stood on its own, that we didn't have to provide that extra discount. And what we were doing was just cannibalizing our existing sales, eating into our profits. We reduced that. It didn't slow down our growth. Growth continued, and in many cases accelerated.
So did you end up fundraising?
No, we didn't end up fundraising.
Didn't need to.
We didn't need to, and we set a goal of getting to profitability by August, by this month, and we actually hit it in April. And then today we were able to announce it publicly that we achieved that goal. It was a really big moment for the company. I'm really proud for the team.
And you say you're planning to go public by the end of next year. Walk me through the next 12 months or so. What happened?
Yeah, so I talked to my advisors and some of our investors and board members. I said, what's next for us? What do you think we should do next? What's the next goal? And they said, find the next mountain to climb. And the next mountain for us to climb is a public offering. I'm very competitive. I've always wanted to go public and have a company that I started and take it all the way through. That was when I was just down the street at CNET when I was 22 years old. I wanted to do what Halsey Minor had done with CNET and take it public. So I'm personally very motivated by that, and I think it would be a wonderful marketing event for the company, and I think that it would be a wonderful experience for the team to go through. It's the next logical step for us in terms of us controlling our destiny, and we think we can get there as soon as the end of next year.
Now, often the finances of private Silicon Valley startups are very closely held. Plans for an IPO or not also closely held. Why are you being so public about this?
You know, I think that it's, if I looked for us to be public one day, you know, the information that's going to be shared then, or as we get close to going public, is even more than what we're sharing right now about our revenues, about our growth. I'm also very proud of it, and I want the world to know that, you know, even though we went through some difficult times by deciding to go public, we're really thriving right now. We're profitable, we're growing. We didn't do that at the expense of growth. We have an incredible team. We've got a great pipeline of stuff coming out in the fall. We deliver tons of values to customers and our hotel partners. So I love to talk about it, and it's really fun to talk about and brag about it, frankly. Of what the great work that the team's doing.
We've seen a lot of M&A in tech. Would you be open to a sale?
I'm not really thinking about that right now. I'm just thinking about how do we keep growing our metrics. We're very focused on growth. We're focused on maintaining profitability, focused a lot on innovation. I think that we're also focused on things that we can control the destiny of, which for us is a public offering, with the extent of market timing. And I think the markets will come back for sure within the time frame that we're looking at. But if not, then we'll have the position to hold out as long as needed.
So we have to talk about competition. Expedia and Priceline dominate the market. Their gross bookings are 100 times what Hotel Tonight's are. What makes you think that you can make it as a public company?
Well, I think that it's important to look at what we do versus what they do. So we're focused solely on last minute, that the temporal dimension of, even though we're Hotel Tonight, we're actually a week in advance. So we have 50% of the market opportunity right there. Hotel rooms are booked within a week in advance. And then we're also mobile only. And that cuts the market down considerably. And we're also only hotels. The other guys also sell cruises and flights. And we're very focused at doing one thing and doing it very, very well. So I think that that's one important comp. The other is that we're growing much faster than they are. Our revenues right now, year to date, are growing over 100% year over year. That compares to 15% for our big competitors. But also I think that when people see the product and they see the value proposition we offer, I think that we see they come back over and over and over again. Even though the gross bookings that we have are smaller, our marketing costs are far smaller than theirs. So we're more efficiently run as an operation.
What's your advice to other startups right now that may be in the position you were 6 months ago?
I think that when I look back on it, I had thought that it was a mutually exclusive decision. You can either think about growth or you can think about profit. And I should have been thinking, and we as a team should have been thinking about how do we improve the unit economics, keep the profitability at that transaction basis in place, still invest in growth, but then have the levers to pull that back if needed. And it wasn't a binary decision. It should have been something we looked at together. And I think that if a company is looking that way, I think they'll be really positioned for success.
It's good to hear how you learned from your own experiences. Sam
always
Chang,
learning, always learning.
CEO of Hotel Tonight. Great to have you back here on the show. Congrats.
Thank you.
Up next, we will stay with travel tech and look at what's really to blame for most flight delays. Hint, it is not the weather. This is Bloomberg. Some tough news for e-commerce retailer One Kings Lane. After the startup was valued at $900 million in early 2014, turns out it went for less than $30 million in its recent sale to Bed Bath & Beyond, this according to Recode. This comes in stark contrast to two recent successful e-commerce acquisitions, Walmart's $3.3 billion purchase of Jet and Unilever's $1 billion deal with Dollar Shave Club. Earlier this month, Delta suffered the wrath of thousands of angry travelers when it disclosed that a simple power outage crashed its global computer system and led to 2,000 flight cancellations. Another computer failure at Southwest in July led to 2,300 cancellations and will now cost the carrier tens of millions of dollars, which led us to ask, are these kinds of delays happening more often? Who's to blame? Our Bloomberg News aviation reporter Alan Levin has been looking into the causes of most U.S. flight delays and joins us now from Washington with all of those details. Now, Alan, it used to be weather and air traffic control that caused most of the problems. Now, you say it's just the airlines. How often are computer glitches like this really causing problems?
Well, the computer problems that we've seen, as devastating as it was for those people, are probably not the biggest cause of delays. I think it's a more mundane mix of aircraft that are in the wrong place, maintenance problems, pilots who may have worked too many hours in the day and can't continue, things like that. But but it is true that airlines, like a lot of businesses, are very, very reliant on their computers, and so when they do go down, it can be very devastating.
Why is the technology used by airlines so outdated?
Well, I mean, you could argue both sides of that. Obviously, if you have a computer crash, by some definition, it is outdated. But the airplanes themselves and the air traffic system, in spite of what some critics say, is actually quite a sophisticated interlocking network of various computers and that sort of thing. It's actually quite impressive if you consider what it does and its safety record, which is really amazing. We haven't had a fatal accident on a U.S. carrier in years and years. So, I mean, that's sort of in the backdrop of what's going on here. For the reliability, it's quite amazing.
Now, Delta, ironically, has the best on-time record of any carrier. Should we be concerned that safety was ever in question with some of these issues?
Well, gosh, I don't think there's any question that safety was compromised with the computer outage. In fact, the reason they're putting their planes on the ground is to be cautious. So that's not really a concern, and it's borne out by the accident statistics that we see worldwide, which are just amazing compared to 20 or 30 years ago. But reliability is another question, and that's really sort of what we're looking at here.
So what's the solution? What are airlines doing about this, and what are they getting better at?
Well, so the data we looked at showed that delays caused by the airlines have actually exceeded those caused by weather and that sort of thing. It does not show what caused the accident, so it's a little bit tricky to talk about. But clearly, you have this group of companies that have gone through a bunch of bankruptcies, have cut costs, have cut staff, have lowered the salaries of a lot of their staff. And so, and I think what that has done is perhaps cut into the reliability of some of their systems. Now, the way to improve that would be to add extra aircraft. So if one aircraft arrives late, you could throw in a substitute. I mean, that's a very expensive asset to have lying around, right? So anyway, there are a lot of things they can do to try to speed things up.
Our Bloomberg News aviation reporter Alan Levin joining us from Washington, D.C. Alan, thanks so much from that report. Coming up, we're going to be speaking with the co-founders of Reddit. We are taking your questions live on Reddit.
I'm Mark Crumpton. You're watching Bloomberg West. Let's begin with a check of your first word news. The Obama administration says it has received a formal extradition request from Turkey for exiled cleric Fethullah Gulen. President Recep Erdogan has blamed July's coup attempt on Gulen, who lives in Pennsylvania. Gulen has denied any involvement. The State Department says the extradition request is unrelated to the failed coup. Florida has confirmed 5 new non-travel related cases of Zika, including one in the Tampa Bay area. Governor Rick Scott says 4 new cases are connected to mosquitoes in Miami's Wynwood Arts District. He says the 5th was diagnosed in a resident who hasn't traveled internationally. Last week, health officials announced 5 cases of Zika were linked to mosquitoes in Miami Beach. Green Party candidate Jill Stein says she could win the U.S. presidential election if she could just receive more public exposure. Stein says voters deserve to hear from all the candidates. The Commission on Presidential Debate says candidates must have the support of at least 15% of voters to be included. Stein has been polling in the low single digits. Global news 24 hours a day, powered by over 2,600 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Mark Crumpton. This is Bloomberg. It's just after 6:30 p.m. Tuesday here in New York, 8:30 Wednesday morning in Sydney. I'm joined by my colleague Paul Allen with a look at the markets. Paul, good morning.
Good morning, Mark. We'll take a look at New Zealand trading now for 30 minutes so far on Wednesday, and is off very, very slightly, about 0.1%. That's despite a pretty healthy lead from the US. Nikkei futures traded out of Chicago are looking pretty flat, though we're expecting some slight gains on the ASX here in Australia. The major stock in focus today will be Qantas, and as I speak, those results are crossing the Bloomberg right now. If we take a look at it, full-year underlying pre-tax profit, $1.53 billion. A little less than estimates. 1.57 was expected for that number. Full-year revenue, $16.2 billion. But the big news out of Qantas, they're going to restart paying a dividend. For the first time in 7 years, Qantas shareholders will be getting a dividend of 7 cents per share. It looks like the successful turnaround program of the CEO, Alan Joyce, is continuing. Old aircraft have been retired, wages were frozen, 5,000 jobs lost. A lot of pain at Qantas over the years, but that dividend is returning on the back of a strong profit today. Westfarmers is also out with the results today, and over in China, look at energy stocks. CNOOC, PetroChina, China Coal. We'll look out for them to be hit by those weak energy prices over the past 12 months. I'm Paul Allen for Bloomberg TV in Sydney, Australia.
I'm Emily Chang. Welcome to our special on Reddit. Over the next half hour, we will answer the dozens of questions posted by Redditors over the last week on the subreddits r/startups and r/entrepreneur, with topics ranging from work-life balance to advice to first-time founders. But first, we've got to discuss the evolution of Reddit as a business. From initially getting rejected by Y Combinator to convincing YC founder Paul Graham to change his mind, these days the social news aggregation site touts over 240 million monthly active users, writing over 300,000 posts a day, but they believe it can be so much more. Joining us now in an exclusive conversation, Reddit co-founders Alexis Ohanian and Steve Huffman. Guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Steve, you came back as CEO last year. You came back as Chief Strategy Officer. You guys have known each other since moving day at UVA. So you've been together a long time.
Yes, 15 years.
Essentially.
Yeah, that's a healthy marriage.
So, Steve, since you came back in the last year, tell me where you think you've made the most progress and where you think the most challenges remain.
I think the biggest thing we've been focusing on the last year is building the team at Reddit. Really getting the company in a position to build and execute all of our dreams. And so we've hired a lot of people, rebuilt pretty much every team at Reddit, and now, I mean, as evidenced, we've shipped more in the last quarter than I think we shipped in the entire year before that.
So, Alexis, what do you think the biggest things are on the to-do list? Like, what do you still need to fix?
Well, we've got work to do, but the good news is we've made a ton of progress in short order. The team that we've been able to put together has shipped vast improvements in mobile web as well as native mobile, and there's more room to go. There's certainly more user experience improvements we can make, but the growth speaks for itself.
So we're going to talk a little bit about growth and the user experience, privacy, harassment a little bit later, but I wanted to start on the business. We have been taking questions from Reddit. One of the first from Tataratatat. I hope I got that right. Looking forward, how do you plan to monetize the Reddit community, and how has the pressure to become profitable changed the way web businesses are operating and valued now?
Sure. So the first part, how do we monetize Reddit? For us, it's ads. We've explored a bunch of business models over the year, but ads makes the most sense for us. It's the space we were already living in previously, and that business for us has been getting better and better over the year.
So give me some color on that.
Sure. So on Reddit, advertising on Reddit's a little bit different than you would see elsewhere online, because your interactions on Reddit are a little bit different. For example, an advertiser elsewhere, online or offline, it's really, they're yelling at their customers. You're trying to say your message in the flashiest, loudest way possible. But on Reddit, you can make a genuine connection. It's more akin to speaking with your customer in their home. And so when an advertiser embraces that, when they find their customer on Reddit and when they speak to them authentically, you can get a real connection, and it's much more powerful.
Here's another one from Memeship. Are you worried about competition? Reddit has gone largely unchanged and unopposed for over a decade. Are you concerned that someone may come in and sweep away non-core Reddit users the same way Reddit did to Dig circa 2010?
You know, we don't think a lot about competition. We never really have. And the reality is we are so focused on providing that great user experience and never betraying the fact that that's what makes Reddit special, that we wouldn't go on some kind of fool's errand like other startups have made in the past.
Really? But there's so much competition for mindshare, from everything, from Twitter to Facebook to
One of the
Snapchat.
best pieces of advice I was given early in our career was, if you spend all your time looking in the rearview mirror, you're going to drive into a wall. So we just look at the future of Reddit. How can we do the best thing for our users, for our communities? And that's always been our guiding light, and it's served us very well.
Okay. Adams SC1. Like many websites, Reddit's primary business model is being challenged by ad blocking software, which more and more users support. What's going through your mind as you battle this tech shift, and what advice do you have for entrepreneurs on how to keep their business forward-facing and agile to deal with threats to their business model?
Well, Adam, SC1, never lose track of why your users are coming to your site. If you ever start sacrificing that, that's when you're going to start having a bad time. One of the huge assets we have on Reddit is the fact that this is the zeitgeist for 250 million people. And in a lot of ways, it is a brand's dream come true, because word of mouth has always been the most powerful form of advertising. And now Reddit is where that conversation happens, and where brands can, like Steve was saying earlier, participate with it, not just shout.
But how do you balance, being true to the user and not letting things get out of control, and, turning this into a real business? I mean, that's been sort of the main challenge over the last several years, correct?
Yes and no. As I was saying before, there's a way to advertise on Reddit that isn't subtractive from the user experience. Like when you make a real connection, when customers exist because they need something from the brand. So when you make that real connection from a brand and a customer, can be a powerful thing. And so what we try to think about is, how do we do that in a way that doesn't subtract from the product? We don't displace other content for it. We make sure the ads are targeted and reaching the right person, so it doesn't feel like they're at the expense of the user experience, but are actually neutral or positive for it.
Yeah, and just to build on that, Reddit is in a really fortunate and unique position because, specifically, right, a brand like Coca-Cola can come run an ad on Reddit, a sponsored headline, and during the Super Bowl, I might add, an ad about an ad, and the engagement on that content was actually higher than organic content on Reddit, which goes to show that if a brand is coming correctly using our ad products, they can not only make a great investment, but they're also making a real influence.
Condé Nast bought you guys in 2006, spun you off in 2011, and as I understand it, they really sort of gave you free rein. Do you wish over the last decade that they had been more involved and had helped you build out the business?
I would say in a lot of respects they were. So when we sold the company in 2006, I think we were both 22.
Yeah.
We did not know a lot about running a business. So it's funny, at the time, I actually regretted it. I was like, man, this thing, it's like it keeps growing. We didn't need to sell. But when I reflect on it now, being a part of Conde was a good home for us to learn how to operate the business, to learn how to manage, to learn how to grow. And now that we're independent again, we can bring all of those lessons back to Reddit. And so I can say, I'm not actually certain Reddit would have survived, you know, without that. It's certainly not a sure thing, because the economy wasn't great then. Raising money would have been difficult. So I think everything played out pretty well.
All right, Reddit co-founders Steve Huffman and Alexis Ohanian, stay with us. We're going to be talking a little bit more about the user experience in this exclusive conversation, Reddit's privacy policy, harassment, their do not track tool. This is Bloomberg. Reddit's stance on internet privacy and free speech has made it a pioneer in this space. Last year, it rolled out its Do Not Track feature, a technology that allows Redditors to prevent third-party analytics from being loaded during their time on the site. But the company does have its critics who call the forum a breeding ground for trolls. Here with me, Reddit co-founders Alexis Ohanian and Steve Huffman. And look, I know you guys have worked very hard to change this, but do you think that trolls are still a huge problem?
In the last quarter, we've reduced spam by 90%. We've reduced abuse by 30%.
And how do you do that? Because it's difficult to crack down without pissing people off.
Yes and no. It can be a challenge, but a lot of it is simple technology changes. On spam, it's really just going after the basics, finding where it's coming from and eliminating it. And on abuse, our blocking feature, letting users block other users, has had a big impact. So we've got a long way to go, but we're making steady progress now that we're really tackling it.
Yeah, and to put it in perspective, right, 250 million people will hit Reddit this month, right? So that's a population larger than Brazil, and of all the content they're producing, only 0.02% of it ever even gets reported. Right. So in that context, it actually is a pretty remarkable environment.
I mean, some of the criticism goes beyond this. People say it's a hub for trolls to organize and spread like a virus across the internet. This is what Ellen Pao, interim CEO, had tried to crack down on. She tried to crack down on offensive content. It didn't end well for her. She ultimately did leave. You know, you and I have talked about this. But, you know, how are you balancing not alienating your core users and cleaning up the site?
Well, I would say our core users are overwhelmingly good and positive. And we've actually eliminated a number of communities over the last year, and some of it more dramatic than others. But now that we've set the tone with the community with what's acceptable and what's not, that's become easier.
Right.
And it's really about setting boundaries, setting a policy, and enforcing it consistently. That's really the name of the game. So,
you know, in the week leading up to this, we were taking questions on Reddit, and unfortunately, a lot of the usernames were too offensive to use. Like, we couldn't use their questions. Some of them involved my name. So how are you making Reddit safer for women, especially in particular?
It's a big thing that's on our mind near constantly. Our mission is to make Reddit as welcoming as possible, a place where people can really come and be comfortable being their true selves. And so there's a lot of work we're doing, making sure we're connecting people with their home on Reddit.
Okay.
And it's not an easy problem, but I think we've made strides towards it, but there's still plenty of work to be done.
And it's not just women, minorities as well, anyone
Absolutely.
who's not a straight white guy, right?
Well, the reality is, again, in the sunlight of data, at least according to a recent ComScore study, 49% of Redditors are women. So again, 1 out of 3 Americans who are going to hit Reddit this month are going to hit Reddit this month. So what we're talking about is a actually very large and diverse population, and we're doing a better and better job every day. We didn't have a trust and safety team a year ago, and we do now. And their work, combined with all the software Steve's talking about, is making sure people get the experience, the safe experience they want.
One of the largest women's communities online is actually on Reddit, 2X chromosomes.
Okay. Another one from Adam SC1. Reddit has taken some strong stands on the matter of consumer privacy this year and has been a leader in the field. What business case can you share that may change the minds of businesses who haven't yet caught on to the importance of consumer privacy?
Well, fundamentally, it's important for any business to have a good relationship with their customers. And so for us, it's always been about maintaining that trust with our users. It's trust that we're going to do the right thing with their data. And it's also, we think very much about minimizing surface area. So if the government comes asking for data, we don't ask for a lot from users. We don't require email addresses. And it's really up to the users to share with us what they want. Or if even worse, like we were to get attacked by hackers or that sort of thing. So our philosophy is don't ask for a lot, don't take a lot, yet users be themselves, and do the right thing for them. And if that's good, makes good business sense for any company that cares about its customers.
Right. Here's another one from a username we can't reveal because it was not very nice, but they do listen to Bloomberg Radio daily, which we appreciate. How does Reddit strike a balance between privacy and freedom of speech and demands from the government and law enforcement and outside parties?
So I would say privacy and freedom of speech aren't mutual, they're not conflicting. So I just told you about privacy. It's something that's always been important to us. Now, when it comes to freedom of speech, we believe that it's important that anybody on Reddit be able to express themselves fully. It's good for the world. We talk about on Reddit, you can be your true self. And that's a powerful thing when people come to Reddit seeking relationship advice or seeking help when they have suicidal thoughts or coming out for the first time. These are all very powerful things that people experience on Reddit. When it comes to law enforcement, we hold a very high bar for what we'll respond to. We make sure that the requests are valid and authentic, and we push back in many cases when they're not. In fact, we just did that about a week ago when we were sued by Atlantic Records looking for user data. It's not something we hand over easily when asked.
So, Reddit has been known as the front page of the internet, and when you guys came back, the idea was to really turn this into a full-fledged media empire. You delved into original content, podcast, video. How are those experiments going?
Well, so far. What we've learned was that Reddit has always been the hub for people to create original content. And what we've now since doubled down on are publisher tools. We realized so many publishers, newsrooms, were starting their day reading their beats on Reddit. You cover science? Of course, you're reading r/science. And they would try to turn that then into content they would publish on their own sites. By eating dog food ourselves, we realized, okay, these are the publisher tools we really need to be building, and now we can let them do the heavy lifting. And so all that, at the end of the day, builds that relationship with the very people who do the best job spreading the message.
So in 2 years, Steve, where do you see Reddit, let's say? Like, are you that full-fledged media empire? What are you?
We should be significantly bigger. Revenue should be up significantly. And I think we will have made very good progress against the biggest product problem we have, which is how do we connect the first-time Reddit visitor with their home on Reddit.
Yeah.
That's the big challenge we've been chasing. Because I believe every person has a home somewhere on Reddit, because we have thousands, I think 45,000 active communities on Reddit right now. There's something there for everybody, and making that connection, that's the big challenge we're chasing after right now.
All right, Reddit, go ahead, one more.
And the magic behind Reddit lays in that pseudonymity. The fact that when you come on Reddit, you can really be your full selves. You can be the Yankees fan, you can talk world politics, you can learn about new communities through a lens you'd never get access to before. And if we do our jobs well, the kinds of connections people will make on Reddit will be as strong or stronger, I'd argue, than the connections they make on other social networks, where it's more about showing your very narrow, best filtered self.
All right, Reddit co-founders Alexis Ohanian and Steve Huffman. We're going to be talking a little bit more about Y Combinator, where you got your start. It is day 2 of demo day. So I'm really glad you guys are here. We will be right back talking Reddit. This is Bloomberg. Y Combinator's demo day is underway this week. Reddit got its start at the incubator 11 years ago. Alexis, you posted Reddit's original application for the program over the weekend on Facebook. So talk to us a little bit about Y Combinator's role in your evolution. Obviously, you know, it's how you got your start. How involved have they been over the course of this 11 years?
You mentioned at the top of your block that PG rejected us and then brought us back.
Yeah.
Paul Graham did reject us, but credit Jessica Livingston, who actually was the one who pounded the table to bring us back.
His wife,
Yes.
and also a founder of YC and a very powerful person.
She's the reason we got into YC.
Okay.
So we'll always be grateful for that.
So, you know, over the course of the years, this is a question from a Reddit user. How exactly did YC help you, and do you still keep in touch with them?
So it's helped in different ways over the years, but we met a lot of our closest friends during that first batch, and still, like, some of my closest business confidants were people we met. Emmett Shear and Justin Kahn, the founders of Twitch, were in that batch with us, and so we grew up together. We learned how to hire and fire and raise money and run our businesses together. And so that was an incredibly valuable experience to have somebody who could kind of share your pain and your joys and triumphs and failures and whatnot.
Especially in 2005, because starting a startup was not a thing people were doing. There were not a lot of resources, and the support group that it provided to share notes was invaluable, and it's even more valuable today because the network is so much bigger. A YC founder today can send either one of us an email, may not get a response instantly, but they will get a response from us, and they will get help, and that network just gets stronger with every batch.
Paul Graham has said a lot of things to startups, given a lot of advice over the years. What applies and what doesn't? This is another question coming from Reddit.
Well, I'm not going to get into what doesn't, but I can tell you
he's in England, isn't he?
One of the most
he's watching.
Oh, he's watching.
One of the most important pieces of advice we received, and I still think it's extremely valuable to all companies, is launch as soon as possible, because until you launch, you're not learning. The day you get your product out in front of customers is the day you learn whether your idea is going to work or not, and probably not, and so how you're going to have to change to make it work. And so for us, I remember we launched 3 weeks after we started coding on Reddit. And the Reddit we launched then is nothing like you see today. But we learned so much even in that first summer,
Yeah.
just by iterating.
YC has been I mean, when you guys were accepted, how many companies were in the batch? Like 8?
8.
It was very small. Now they're funding hundreds of companies. And they're sometimes criticized as a startup factory, that valuations are overinflated simply because the YC name is attached to it. How do you respond to that criticism?
So now I was a YC partner for a period there, so I'd like to think I was responsible for helping some of those companies out. The reality is the benefit of those 3 months still to this day is a huge multiplier, right? When you know you can call up Justin Kahn, Michael Seibel, Kasser Yunus, and just get feedback and get smacked around when you need to go back to work and focus on what matters, it makes a huge difference in your company. And those valuations are a result of the fact that the companies are just that much better off.
All right. So here's another question coming from Reddit. What was the moment you almost gave up, and what pulled you through?
There are, I don't know if there's the moments, but there are many moments. I think one of the challenges when you're starting a business, when you're a founder, especially a first-time founder, is channeling what your motivation is. And so some days it's doing the best thing for our users. Other days it was not letting Alexis down, or not letting YC down, or some days it's just I don't want to look stupid. And I think it's important to know why you're working and be honest with yourself. And it's not always a pure motivation. It's not always I'm going to change the world, but you have to dig deep. And one of the things I always tell young founders is every time you have an up, there's going to be a down, so prepare for it. And every time there's a down, there's going to be an up, and you know you're going to get through it. And you just go along with the ride. Okay,
last quick question from Karmic Threat. That's a good one. If you had $40,000 and you were going to start over, no Reddit, what would you do? Quickly.
I don't know if $40,000 is supposed to be small, because we started Reddit with $12,000. And frankly, we would do just about the exact same thing. Write a ton of code, talk to users, and ship as quickly as possible.
Yeah?
I agree.
All right. Reddit co-founder Steve Huffman, the CEO, Alexis Ohanian, Chief Strategy Officer. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Great to have you. And that does it for this edition of Bloomberg West. Tune in for full coverage of HP Inc. earnings tomorrow, out after the bell. That is all today from San Francisco. This is Bloomberg.
This is Charlie Rose.
Brian Stevenson is here. He is a public interest lawyer who has dedicated his life to fighting racial discrimination in the criminal justice system. His efforts have also focused on putting a spotlight on the legacy of slavery in America. His nonprofit, the Equal Justice Initiative, has saved 125 death row prisoners from execution. It has also won a landmark Supreme Court ruling that held mandatory life without parole sentences for minors is unconstitutional. The organization plans to open the first and largest memorial honoring the thousands of victims of lynching in the United States. That will happen next year. The project includes a museum that will explore the road from slavery to the current era of mass incarceration. Both will be located in Montgomery, Alabama. I am pleased to have Brian Stevenson back at this table. Welcome. When you went to Montgomery as a young lawyer, I mean, did you see unfurling this career that you have had? Did you burn with the fire to do what you have done?
I didn't see everything that would come. I grew up in a poor rural community where I saw the anguish of racial exclusion. We lived in a black